What's going on, everyone? It's Zach. I'm coming not live, but direct from Valencia, Spain. So we're going to do an abridged version of the Ruiz Report just to make sure that you guys get the data because things are happening. The market is shifting, and I think it's really, really important that we stay on top of this. Today's topic is basically going to be around supply and demand and pricing. So with that, we'll get right to it. I am going to share my screen. Our friend Zoom lets us do that. And here we go. We are going to be going over Buncombe County's August report. So this is the 42nd month we've been covering these numbers, and it's been rocket ship up and to the right ever since we started. And now we're trying to see some, or we're starting to see some differences. So if you don't already know, my name is Zach Ruiz. I run the Ruiz Report and a sister company called REMC. And basically, I'm kind of known as the keeper of the datas in the area. And I've been watching this, as I said, for 42 months in a row now. The Ruiz Report has a mission that is twofold. One is to equip realtors with these data-driven market insights through our 10-slide report, and that's what we're going to go over. And importantly, what's happening right now is to empower them with industry-leading training to become their client's local economist of choice. So every real estate professional, whether you're an investor or an agent, should know the market, and this is one of the best tools to get that done. So we're going to start with the graphs today because it tells the story. It's the most fun part. Right. Another way to say that is it's the pretty shapes and colors. If your eyes glaze over every time you see stuff like this, don't worry, I got you. All right. This is how to read the graph. So every graph is going to follow the exact same pattern. On the far right, you're going to see the report month. And in this case, it's August. To the left, you'll see another box, and that's the report month last year. So we'll get our year over year. Those numbers will also be called out. And then I add in 2 months to give a seasonality. So it's 15 months. So what was happening this time last year coming into the report? Let me just make sure everything's going well here. Okay, so every graph follows this pattern. So let's go over volume and activity. And all this slide is basically saying is how much real estate is being done. If you were going to add in all the listings that were for sale at any given time during the month, which is your red bar, to the homes that sold, closed, right? And those that went under contract in the month, well, excluding those that withdrawn and expires, which is kind of marginal considering the whole size of a county. This is all of the real estate that happens during the month. And all we're looking here is the size of the bar. And we can see that year over year, the bar has gone down. We see that we have that seasonal dip in the winter months, but we have not come back to the same levels as last year. And we're going to kind of talk about that. So on the right, we have our talking points that essentially say the last one will read overall volume was up 1% from last month, but down 13% from this month last year. This is kind of be the driving force in today's talk. This is the listing and pendings chart. So we're gonna read it, right? So new listings increased 10% from last month. We're going to talk about that, but they were down 8% from last August. 6% less homes went under contract this month over month, and Buncombe had less homes going under contract than this month last year, down 32%. Right? And home going under contract is people thinking it's a good idea to buy at this price, right? That's what that says. So the pro tip, keeping an eye on the difference between homes added to the market, new listings, and those taken off by going under contract is the best way to gauge supply and demand. So what do I mean by that? This story tells the supply and demand, or the slide tells the supply and demand story. When the red bar, which is our new listings, is above the green line, and that green line represents what went under contract, then we've added more. We added more. But when it's below, we took more off. We did not replenish supply, and that's been keeping supply down for some time now. But we've been consistently adding supply lately. So if we go back to this month's chart, we can see March, April, May, June, July, and now August, we have replenished homes. Interesting, right? And we're going to talk about why I think that's so interesting. And here's a refrain that you're going to hear a couple times today. Supply and demand directly affects pricing. All right, so let's look at our home slide. Our home prices slide. The red bar is the average price. So if you add them all up and divide by how many sold, you get an average. And the green bar is the median sales price. So if you line them all up from the cheapest home to the most expensive home, what's right there in the middle? The median price. That's what that is, right? So we have an increase year over year. And even though, everyone's talking about prices decreasing, list prices certainly are. People are having to adjust their original asking price. But if we do a trend line on these two graphs, we can see that even though it's not stellar rocket ship as it's been, we are still increasing up and to the right. So we are 11% higher compared to last August. That's the year over year average. Excuse me. So home prices are still increasing, and that's curious. A lot of people are wondering why, right? This is true in Buncombe. It's true in a lot of areas, but they're wondering why, right? So what about interest rates? Supply and demand, that's great, but these homes are more expensive. So looking at interest rates, and this is the exact same period as the graph previously. This is from June until August of this month. You can see that interest rates have increased tremendously, and everybody is feeling that, right? So if we look at a mortgage calculator of this time last year, the interest rates were hovering around 5%. That would have been a $2,800 payment for our median home price, right, of $475. But if we do a 7% interest, which is where it's hovering right now, it's $3,400, right? And so what does that mean? The year over year mortgage payments of $289 versus $3,400 is a 21% increase. So think about that. Don't worry about the sticker price of the home. It costs 21% more to own the median home. That's not nothing, right? So mortgage payments, think about that. These are after tax dollars. This is money after you've already spent taxes, state taxes, and federal taxes, right? But did wages go up 21%? So let's look at it. Well, over the same period, more or less, right? Because these are lagging metrics. They don't have the most recent data. The most recent data is from some point in 2021. Well, it looks like real median household income has been going down. And given that inflation is not under control, we know that that has continued to be the case. So the payments are up, the prices are up, and income is at least stagnant or down. Well, real income, which is, taking into account inflation, is down. So the year over year median home price in August was, last August was $450. This year is $470. So that's a 4% increase. We'll say it again. Supply and demand directly affects pricing. It is the king, right? Demand exceeds supply in our area. So some food for thought. Supply is limited, as we know. Demand exceeds supply, at least in our area. That is very, very, very true. Real wages have been declining, so people have less disposable income and money to spend on all this stuff. And yet payments continue to rise. This is a very interesting concoction here. So let's look at this. That same median price home at a 3.5% interest rate, which most people who are in that window of I should sell my home right about now are at 3.5% or less. Their monthly payment is $2,400 or less, right? So that means that the monthly payment now would be $1,000 more for a home that is probably comparable and, as we know, more expensive these days, right? Do you think that these homeowners will want to sell their homes to trade somewhat equally or maybe even down to pay more money? I don't think so. So how do you think that will affect the supply of homes? So back to the curious thing that we've been adding more homes. It's kind of not necessarily because more people are listing their homes. As we saw, that bar was a little bit lower than previously. People weren't trying to cash in on the equity. So it's the listing, right, was higher month over month, but lower year over year. And so what we're seeing is less people are being able to buy the homes. So the supply and demand thing is shifting more on the demand side because I don't know that the supply side is going to increase, right? Especially not in this area. So say it again, supply and demand directly affects pricing. Moving on, we'll talk about days on market. It is taking a little bit longer to sell the home. That's what this graph is telling us. We can see that it's going up and to the right. But again, the median price or the median days on market, which is you line all the homes that sold in the first day until the ones that took hundreds of days, 50% of homes across all price ranges sold in 10 days or less. So if you have a listing, think about that. And if you're trying to buy a home and you see that it's stagnant without a price reduction, then you may want to consider putting a below ask offer. Finally, contract to close, or not finally, before last one, contract to close. This is largely out of your control, but it's what happens after you go under contract. And how long does it take to close? Talk to your talk to your loan originators, your lenders, and your closing attorneys. They'll have a better answer. But across all price ranges in Buncombe County in August, it took about 47 days. Finally, we have contract to cash. Sellers got paid an average of 10 days faster after listing their homes, according to August sales data, which was about as fast as August 22. Again, that median, 50% of homes, whoa. So they're doing some work while I'm here, are closing in 53 days or less. All right. So if you have your copy of the Ruiz Report, and if you don't, go to ruizreport.com, you can see this by price ranges. So you'll get your new listings, your under contracts, your percentages, your pending ratios, all of that broken down instead of the macro market, which is what we just did, all of Buncombe County. You can get it for the micro market. It's your price range. And with that, I will give it back to Ray and Rodrigo, and I hope you guys are having a great one. I really wish that I could be at the Landlord Tenant one as a landlord myself. It's going to be incredible information. So enjoy, and I'll see you when I get back. Thanks.